They said Earth had finally evolved. 3 centuries without a single recorded war. No border disputes, no civil unrest, not even economic sabotage. To the Galactic Order, Earth was a model of post-conflict harmony. A species once defined by chaos now operated with unnerving coordination. But some of us never believed it. Not really. They say civilizations progress linearly, from savagery to structure, from tribal violence to global cooperation. But when we studied Earth's history, the pattern broke. The wars didn't fade slowly. They stopped. Suddenly, overnight, like a switch was flipped, as if humanity didn't grow out of violence, but buried it. I was assigned to Earth as an academic liaison. My role was simple: observe, document, analyze. But it didn't take long before I realized something wasn't right. Everywhere I looked, there were missing pieces. Sealed files, blacked out data, entire centuries of military development scrubbed clean. Artificial intelligence records gone. Defense strategies, classified. Even the museums offered only sanitized displays. The Great Disarmament, the Age of Reflection, the Peace Accord of Finality. All of it suspiciously curated. Sterile. Hollow. There was one place that refused to hide its truth. Deep in Antarctica, beneath what the humans call the Glacial Memorial Vault, sits a message carved into alloy harder than neutron steel. It read, "We'll show you why we bury the AXES." Most brushed it off as a metaphor, an echo of Earth's dramatic flair. But not me. No species capable of planetary war, of firebombing cities, of creating kill swarms and neuroviruses, simply forgets how. They suppress. They lock the memories in vaults and bury the vaults under the ice. I raise questions. Quietly at first. Why were Earth's archives encrypted with ancient Cold War-era ciphers? Why did global governance systems still fund dormant military industries with no active output? Why was Earth the only species in the order granted total sovereignty over its own orbit, its moon, and every Lagrange point? Every other species adhered to orbital transparency laws. Earth? Exempt. The answers came in whispers. A human historian, old enough to remember the tail end of the disarmament, told me something I can't forget. "We didn't become peaceful," he said. "We became quiet. We saw what we were capable of, and we chose silence. Silence is not peace. It's tension held beneath the surface. And the humans, I realized, were not cured. They were dormant, watching, calculating, patient. Their cities gleamed. Their skies were clear. Their people smiled with perfect teeth and perfect language and perfect manners. But underneath there was weight, pressure, history. Some of my colleagues believed Earth's transformation was proof of hope. I saw it as a threat. Peace, real peace, does not need to be protected with encryption protocols, underground bunkers, and orbital kill switches disguised as satellites. And always there was that phrase, mocking, warning, waiting. "We'll show you why we buried the AXES." What kind of civilization needs to warn the galaxy not about what it has, but what it chose to forget? I began to understand. Civilization wasn't humanity's triumph. It was their containment. The warning came as static, then screams, then silence. The Vraxi didn't announce themselves. They appeared beyond the edge of mapped space, tore through the Obelian cluster in days, and left behind nothing but radiation and bone. Their weapons weren't advanced. They didn't use strategy. They moved like instinct wrapped in teeth. No negotiations, no response to broadcasts, just consumption. The Galactic Order panicked. Councils that hadn't met in centuries assembled overnight. Fleets deployed, defenses scrambled, alliances reactivated. It didn't matter. The order was built on balance, on diplomacy, on coordination. The Vraxi were chaos incarnate. By the time they reached the Caro line, 7 systems were gone. In desperation, Earth was summoned. Not for war, they weren't considered warriors anymore, but for shelter, for logistics, maybe even mercy. Earth responded late. Hours turned into days. When the answer came, it wasn't what anyone expected. "You misunderstand," said Earth's High Council. "We are not unwilling. We are unwilling to be what you are asking us to become." The Order didn't understand. Earth had vast reserves, shipyards, quantum processing networks, AI infrastructure. They could turn the tide if they wanted to. So why hesitate? Then Kelverin, the academic, was called back in. He made the case. Earth was a member of the Order. This was not a war. It was an extinction-level event. If Earth had anything left of its former strength, now was the time. The response was a simple data packet, encrypted, obsolete by current standards, but layered with redundancy. And inside, a single command, Unvault Protocol Alpha. The activation code echoed across hidden global networks. Satellites long thought defunct lit up. Under the Antarctic ice, entire sectors came online. Red lights, deep hums, doors that hadn't opened in centuries hissed and groaned. And Earth spoke one more time. We didn't forget how to fight. We chose not to. In orbit, the Order's observers watched as old-world machines emerged, frames that defied current engineering logic. Human commanders issued orders in dead languages, translated instantly by war-bound neural AI. No fanfare, no threats, just preparation. Then the phrase appeared again, broadcast from Earth to every command post in the Order. We'll show you why we buried the AXES. When the first Earth units deployed, they didn't head for the front lines. They bypassed them entirely. They ignored the Order's tactical maps, punched through gravity wells, and struck the Vraxi at resource nodes the Order didn't even know existed. Every engagement was surgical, brutal, efficient. Where the Order used containment, Earth used obliteration. Where others stalled, Earth accelerated. They didn't hold the line. They erased it. Earth's forces didn't ask for permission. They didn't wait for votes or treaties. They operated like a separate will, one that had been dormant, quiet, and now remembered how to move. To the Order, it was salvation. But to Kelverin, watching from the edge of the conflict, it was something else. This wasn't the return of Earth's military. This was the return of something older. Something the stars had forgotten, and Earth had only hidden. They weren't soldiers. At least, not in the conventional sense. Soldiers follow rules. They were insignias. They wait for orders. The ones Earth deployed had no names, no ranks, no identifying features beyond a serial embedded beneath their skin. The Order dubbed them operatives. Earth called them the buried. Records revealed they weren't drafted or trained. They were grown. Designed over centuries of covert black-budget programs, created in eras when humanity still feared its own capacity for annihilation. Genetically optimized, cognitively enhanced, unmatched in focus, logic, and execution. They weren't built for war. They were built to end it. The first field report came from the Chelos front, where 3 Vraxi highs had surrounded a fortress city. The Order had deemed the region lost. 3 operatives dropped from orbit, no support, no atmospheric craft. In under an hour, the siege ended. Entire sectors of the swarm had been neutralized with reprogrammed drone fire, while the rest turned on each other in a chaos spiral triggered by hacked neurosignals. When asked how they achieved it, Earth's liaison said only, "They think like predators, but we were the first predators." Every operation afterward pushed deeper into Vraxi territory. Operatives never repeated tactics. Every assault was improvised, adaptive. They used gravity wells as weapons, transmuted dead planets into kinetic warheads, translated swarm pheromones into viral commands. In one case, an operative self-detonated aboard a Vraxi command vessel, reconfiguring its debris into a signal flare that lured the rest of the swarm into a collapsing star. No alien species had ever fought like this. The Order measured war in efficiency, containment, attrition. Earth measured in finality. One alien commander asked a human general if the operatives were some kind of artificial intelligence. The general answered without emotion, "No, they're worse. They're human enough to improvise." They didn't just defeat the Vraxi. They dissected them, behaviorally, biologically, tactically. In weeks, Earth had mapped the swarm's movements, its social structure, its vulnerabilities. Not through analytics, but instinct. War, to the operatives, was not a last resort. It was an old friend. The Order started pulling its fleets back, not because Earth asked, but because proximity was dangerous. Stray into the wrong vector, and a human system might register you as a threat, and there would be no warning. Calvarin's personal logs grew darker. He noted a shift, not just in the battlefield, but in the air. The Order had come to Earth for help, but now they realized Earth's help came with a price. The buried were not controlled. They were unleashed. A population put to sleep long ago and now walking among stars that had forgotten what fire could do. For the first time, the Galactic Order saw what Earth had hidden beneath its calm surface. Not weakness, not diplomacy, but precision, but rage, but something worse than war itself. The ability to wage it without hesitation, because they never stopped loving the art of it. The war ended. The Vraxi were broken, their fleets shattered, their command structures obliterated. What was left of their forces scattered across dying worlds, picking at the remains of their once great empire. The Order declared victory, but only because Earth allowed it. It wasn't a battle they won. It was a reset. The buried returned to their stasis pods. The war machines powered down. Earth's vaults locked once more, and the world began its quiet return to normalcy, if you could call it that. But something had changed. The phrase, the one inscribed on the ice, echoed louder now, across the Order's channels, in secret reports, and among the quiet murmurs of the Galactic Council. The words that once seemed like a cryptic warning now carried a new weight. We'll show you why we buried the AXES. The Order didn't understand. They never did. They saw a species capable of devastating war, terrifying war, and thought they had faced the greatest of humanity's potential. But what they didn't realize is that Earth hadn't even unleashed its true strength. It had only remembered it, and what they remembered in those few fleeting days was enough to make the Order rethink its entire view of humanity. Not as a member of their collective, but as a wild card, a force of nature that had never truly been tamed. The peace Earth had maintained wasn't a product of diplomacy. It was understanding, a decision to silence the storm before it could ravage the galaxy. But even that decision had a cost. The operatives had operated with ruthless efficiency, yes, but they were not machines. They were human. And after the victory, Earth's leadership faced a difficult question. What now? Could they contain their power again? Should they? The Order's quietest members, those with long memories, understood what had just transpired. Earth wasn't an ally to be celebrated. It was a force to be respected, to be feared. For every victory they had just witnessed, the cost was heavy. Because the truth was clear, humanity had never been a peaceful species. They had simply chosen not to fight until they had to. And when they did, the galaxy had seen something truly terrifying. The last transmission I received from Earth, transmitted through encrypted channels, made it clear. We buried the AXES, but they're never far from reach. I understood then. The operatives weren't a failure of humanity's peacekeeping. They were a reminder. A reminder of what could happen if Earth ever chose to fight again. A reminder that the galaxy could never truly understand the humans they had so hastily called peaceful. Their ability to restrain their power only further emphasized their potential for chaos. The final words of the Order's greatest minds were recorded and passed quietly to the next generation. If Earth remembers how to fight again, we will not survive. I don't know if they will, but I do know this: the AXES are buried, but only in a place where the galaxy will never look. And if humanity ever chooses to dig them up again, no one will be prepared for what follows.